Well, what is happening, Baby Yoda fans, and welcome back to the D-WIZZLE podcast. This is episode 37. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. This is a channel talking about all the things in the world of movies in podcast form. So if you guys are looking for content talking about hours of discussion in film, this is the way. So, please subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 100 subscribers, so please hit that bell to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. But today, we'll be going back into a galaxy far, far away. We're going to be talking about Star Wars once again. So if you guys are new, I talked about all of the live-action Star Wars films, from the prequels to the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. We talked about all of those films, and we talked about the two anthology films, Solo and Rogue One, and we talked about the Clone Wars miniseries, and we talked about the CGI Clone Wars movie that came out. We have a bunch of Star Wars content already here for you guys to listen to, so if you guys want to check those out, I have a playlist on my channel called Star Wars Saga. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can check that out. But today, we'll be continuing talking about Star Wars outside of the movies. We'll be talking about some of the animated series and some of the regular series on Disney+. Today, finally, we're going to be talking about it, ladies and gentlemen. We're finally going to be talking about The Mandalorian Season 1. I know, we're late. I get it. We're late. I'm sorry. It took us too long to get to this review, Ruby. So, yeah, we're finally here. We're finally here talking about this shit. Ruby's finally seen it, so now we get to talk about this shit.
I had everything under control.
Sure you did. Sure you did. All right. So, anyway, we'll be talking about The Mandalorian today. Joining with me, I have an awesome Jedi Council with me today. First of all, we have, you already heard him, fellow YouTuber Ruby Groovy.
Listen, I'm busy, okay? There's a reason I couldn't get to him. There's this thing called Twitch that ended up happening, and I almost got to 100 followers on there, so, like, that happened, you know?
Okay. Excuses. We also have fellow YouTuber, the Kosan Nation. Say it again, we didn't hear you.
Hello.
Awesome. And also, newcomer to the podcast, we have Beefalo.
Hello. I am going to do the verse of Werner Herzog as the client this whole podcast. Hey, howdy everybody, how's it going?
Alright, so since you're new to the channel, Beef, you want to plug anything before we begin?
Yes, I have a Facebook page called Beefalo Game and Log, where I'll be doing a text reviews and text commentaries on games I've been playing lately. I've been recently going through the Mega Man Zero Legacy Collection, Zero ZX Legacy Collection, and finding out those games aren't as great as I remember them being, so that's been pretty frustrating. So you can watch me die and decay in real time as I try to remember the ashes of my childhood. And I'll be doing that, and at some point I'll get the YouTube channel rolling and do some more streams. But you can catch me at Beefalo Game and Log on Facebook.
Sweet. So go follow Beefalo if you want to check out his content. But without further ado, let's get into this thing. Let's talk about The Mandalorian. So this came out November last year, 2019. So this was right before The Rise of Skywalker was released. So before that, as we all know, Star Wars has been in a kind of a difficult period ever since The Last Jedi was released, and ever since Solo was released, people have started to lose confidence in Disney and Lucasfilm creating Star Wars films. For me, it kind of shook my confidence as well, even though I was looking forward to seeing The Rise of Skywalker, and I believe that it was going to fix a lot of the issues that The Last Jedi did. But still, even though I was kind of apprehensive, I was still into Star Wars. Star Wars has always been my life. I couldn't completely abandon it. There's always something for me to love in that universe. So of course we know with the Disney Plus being released, I think was that also released in November? I believe it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So they officially announced that they were going to do spin-off shows of Star Wars on Disney Plus. And I thought that was a really good idea because that would give Lucasfilm an opportunity to expand the universe of Star Wars outside of the timeline of the Skywalker saga. Explore new characters, new environments, new lore. So I'm always down for that. So the first project that they announced was The Mandalorian. I was looking forward to it, but I wasn't like super excited about it. But it looked promising. So the people that were behind this project is Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So I definitely believe that Star Wars is in good hands with them. I am a fan of Jon Favreau. He's directed so many things. If you guys haven't known, he directed the first two Iron Man movies. He directed the live-action Jungle Book movie, and sadly, he directed the live-action Lion King movie. But even though I didn't really like the live-action Lion King, I still think he's a really strong director, and I think he could turn Star Wars, back to where it should be, So, and they also got an interesting bunch of directors to do the episodes. They got Rick Famuyiwa, they got Deborah Chow, they got Bryce Dallas Howard, and Taika Waititi. Very interesting group to direct these episodes. But hey, I was looking forward to it. So we got the first trailers of this show, and it looked really interesting. What it instantly reminded me of, it felt a lot like a Western, which I think fit really well with Star Wars because it has its grimy parts of the universe and, bounty hunters everywhere and stuff like that. So I think the aesthetic fits very well. And, the mystery of the main Mandalorian of the show was really interesting. And it's also the cast that they got for this show. Hey, I like this cast a lot. We got Carl Weathers, we have Gina Carano, we have Werner Herzog, Nick Nolte, Taika Waititi, Emily Swallow. So the cast for this show, I definitely approve. They got a really good cast for this show, so I was looking forward to it. Though one of the things I was worried about going into this, because people aren't loving the sequel trilogy right now, are the people going to instantly be like, "Oh man, is this going to save Star Wars from those horrible sequel films? Oh my gosh, they're actually going to get it right. It's going to be better than the films, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay, guys, chill out. It's a show. It doesn't have anything to do with the sequel trilogy. Can we not just keep thinking about that? Can we just judge it by itself, please? I'm tired of people just dogging on Star Wars just because." So you have all this stuff going in, but I'm just hoping that it's going to be a good show. It's going to be enjoyable. I'm not expecting this to hold any weight towards the movies at all. I'm hoping it's just its own thing. Especially with people that are more casual to Star Wars, they probably need something to, bring more viewers into the streaming service. So it's we don't need a whole bunch of, tie-ins and Easter eggs for movies and stuff like that. So, watching this show, my thoughts are, I really enjoyed this show. I thought it was really, really good. I thought Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau did a really good job with the writing and the structure and the direction and just, the development of these new characters that we got. I thought it was a really solid show. And I really like that you can watch this show and you don't need to know anything about the Star Wars universe. I think it works really well as a show by itself. But on top of that, I think it's a good Star Wars show. I think it fits well into the timeline and the universe. And like I said, I just really like these characters and I like this story. And I didn't mind that, and it was more of a simple story. It's not as world threatening. It's its own thing. But I like that it was more small scale, because we've been getting a bunch of end of the galaxy type threats. It's nice to see something more intimate and, more cerebral. So I definitely really enjoyed this show. But that's how I feel about it. Kotha, what did you think about The Mandalorian Season 1?
Overall, I enjoyed it. There was only, ever one time I ever found myself not really enjoying the show, and I think that was episode 5, but that's just because the pacing of that episode... If I'm wrong on the episode number, then chances are people who've watched the show know what episode I'm talking about. But the pacing of that episode just felt a little off compared to everything else going on in the show. Besides that, I thought it was fantastic. Like you said, I liked the cast that they had. Everyone, I think, did a fantastic job. And everything surrounding it, news and fan base, just made me more hyped for the series. So that also factored in my enjoyment. Scene composition was really good. The music was great. Yeah, I liked everything. Pretty much everything about the show.
Cool. Alright, Beef, what did you think about The Mandalorian Season 1?
I thoroughly but it did,
Hold on. Say that one more time. You broke up a little bit. Say it one more time.
Oh, sorry. I thoroughly enjoyed the series. I'm not one of the people that's going to say that it's going to save the sequel trilogy because, I for one think the sequel trilogy was 2 decent films and 1 film that I respect but dislike. I think that the series, though, is something that I think is unambiguously likable. I think anybody could walk up to this show and enjoy it. I like the combination of Western themes with, it does what Star Wars, I think, is meant to do. Be a space opera fantasy that, harkens to Japanese, film, Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
I feel like The Mandalorian's in touch with that part of Star Wars, and to me, it feels closer en route to that identity. The main character is competent, but not too competent. Every side character has a cool personality, or if they are one note, that's a cool one note that they are. I really enjoyed this show thoroughly because I feel like I fleshed out the world in a way that I wish the films could have done. And I think Star Wars, honestly, might be better off as a TV series, as evidenced by the Clone Wars and this. I significantly enjoy this format where it's these bite-sized pieces of a tale that unfold, and I'm not worried about jamming in a bunch of lock and key mysteries. Something just fell over. Where I'm not worried about jamming in a bunch of bite-sized mysteries into a film or really insane fan theories. You're just telling stories in a universe that's organically unfolding. And as I did my impression earlier, I very much enjoyed Werner Herzog's performance as the client. I really enjoyed Carl Weathers. Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian. I think it's hard to perform in a suit, and he nails it. For a faceless protagonist, I think he does a great job. And that's something that Phasma could not do in the movies. So to see him pull it off here shows that you can't do this faceless character in a film very effectively through physical acting, through vocal and verbal fluctuation of performance. Excuse me. So I think that The Mandalorian's a really great time. I enjoyed binging all in one day today.
Yeah, that's another thing. This show is actually really, it's really easy to binge too. It's it just goes by like that. So it's like the pacing of the show is really good. All right, Ruby, moment of truth, because I know that you're the most skeptic of this. So, what did you think about Mandalorian Season 1? Does Ruby actually enjoy Star Wars content outside the timeline of the Skywalker saga? We will find out right now.
Okay. just give me a second.
Oh no.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. Okay, so Mandalorian. I mean, I'm really just going off of what all you guys are saying. I mean, it really does a good job telling a story outside of the main storyline of Star Wars. Like, I think that a franchise like this needed to go in a different direction, and I feel like a Western was a good choice for this specific group of people in Star Wars. Like, The Mandalorian is like a good choice for like a Western type show, and I feel like people who like don't even like enjoy Star Wars or like don't even like know what Star Wars is could literally hop on The Mandalorian and would probably understand it pretty, I don't want to say easily, but they would instantly get hooked by it, depending on like, assuming like they like watching Westerns and whatnot. But yeah, for me, I think they did a good job with the characters and the scoping of this new world of characters that we're learning about. Obviously, we're not learning too much because it's just season 1, so I like how we're just keeping it like a little bit slow, but like there's something to look forward to in the future. You know, I like seeing that stuff because like they end off the season in a way of like what's to come in season 2. Like, what do we want? What do we need to look forward to before going into season 2? And I feel like it did that very well.
Oh.
On the flip side of it, though,
Dang it!
Ooh.
No. On the flip side of it, I do think that it does feel weird as a Star Wars flick.
Okay.
Because, let me try to explain myself, because I feel like everybody's like listening to me here and like, what the fuck does he mean Star Wars flick? What the hell is it? Okay.
Star Wars
so,
flick. Hashtag Star Wars flick. Put in the comments, please.
To me, when I watch Mandalorian, I feel like there is Star Wars here and there, but like whenever there isn't Star Wars, it's just like I don't really want to be watching not Star Wars, because like if you're going over like a group of characters that come from such a massive franchise, that's essentially what I want to be looking at. I want to be watching like Star Wars, which I feel like this show, like just the first season, like I'm pretty sure they'll get it like at some point in some of the later seasons, but like this show really did kind of lack on a few aspects of like that Star Wars-esque feeling, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but that's really like the only thing that really like made me feel skeptical about it. Like the only thing that's making me feel you know.
Okay.
But like overall, like as a show and structurally, characters, I feel like it works.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into episode by episode in a minute. First, I just want to talk about the overall production for this show. Geez, the production on this show is so great. Like the effects, the cinematography, the costume design, it looks almost as good, if not, I mean, just as good as the films. Like, oh my goodness, it's just I really thought they put in some budget for this show, you know, because like one of the things I was apprehensive on was Disney going to be cheap with this show? Are they not going to put in the money for this? Is it going to look cheap in certain moments? Like, I really couldn't think of any moments where I thought, oh, that looks bad, or oh, that looked cheap, you know. I mean, there was like a slight aesthetic of TV, so it didn't look 100% as cinematic as the films, but it's like it was damn close to me. Like it looked really good. It reminded me more of original trilogy aesthetic than the sequel trilogy aesthetic, as far as like it looks more worn down and like it's more grainy and stuff like that, and it's like a little gloomy, not too gloomy like it was with Rogue One, but I still like the aesthetic felt more adhering to the original trilogy. Judging because this takes place like in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, so aesthetically that fits more. For one thing, yeah, I like that. I like that they did it right. We didn't have this in between the sequel movies because like there's so much happening in the sequel trilogy, so they could have easily just put it in between the new movies. But I like that they just put it in the middle ground between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, because we don't get much information of what went on between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. It's just implied certain things here and there. So I like that they put something after Return of the Jedi. But yeah, let's talk about the main star of this show, the Mandalorian, played by Pedro Pascal. I'm pretty much going to be emulating what Beef said. I thought Pedro was great as the Mandalorian, and at first I didn't even know that was him. Like I didn't look up the cast until like probably like a couple episodes in, and I'm like, I don't know. It didn't feel like Pedro in a good way. Like I wasn't reminded that it was Pedro Pascal. Like he actually felt like the character, and yeah, he was able to emulate so much, and he was in a helmet 99.9% of the show. We'll talk about that other thing later. But yeah, he was able to convey so much emotion with wearing a helmet. Like you felt invested in him. He didn't feel flat. He didn't feel dry. And that was one thing I was kind of worried about with the Mandalorian. Like, is he going to be too stoic where, all the other characters around him is going to be more interesting than him? Gladly, I didn't think so. I'll get you guys' thoughts about that later. But, like, to me, I didn't think he was overshadowed by everything. Like, he still was an interesting enough character where I was invested in him and what was going on with him. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts about the production and special effects and stuff like that? How do you feel about it?
So when it comes to like the production and special effects, I think everything was pretty much it was pretty much movie quality. When like it was a Disney production, like Disney's got bank. But no, there was like only ever one scene as far as like special effects that I felt like a little, I guess, jarred or taken out of the action a little bit. And that was just like the first scene with Baby Yoda. Like it just looked a little different to me in terms of effects from everything else that we see in the series, especially going into later on episodes. But
really,
yeah, I mean, like just like when I went back and watched it, because I went back and watched the first episode again, and like you can tell, like it feels to me like after the first episode, they definitely the quality of the effects a little bit more. Like not by much, but a little bit.
Beef? Yeah, go ahead, Beef.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I didn't cut anybody off. Production-wise of the show, I love the dedication to recreating some of the it looks good here, don't get me wrong, but the cheesy kind of designs of some of the armors and outfits that were in the old films, because of course it's probably costuming from the 1970s and 80s, not going to look the best, but the way that the show recreates that fidelity without compromising on the quality is great. I think that the film has a lovely attention to detail when it comes to how you can use color in a outfit to, I'm all about colors and color palettes when it comes to like costuming, because I studied a fashion course, and I think that for certain scenes such as the villagers, for example, it was very quick to get across that they were humble backwater folk in seconds, and the designs stuck out to me personally. even though they were just generic townspeople, I quickly found myself kind of like, oh, I developed a bit of an attachment. So when they recreated the plot of Seven Samurai with an episode, I was like, I see it coming, and also, aw, look at them helping them out. And I think the show's like dedication to stuff like using puppetry for baby, for the child. I was gonna call it Baby Yoda, but for the child. It's dedication to practical effects at times, and even though some of the CG looks a little bit conspicuous, it is definitely head and shoulders above its peer shows on other, like on even on Netflix, where those shows have really weird looking CG. This show's CG actually feels almost film quality. You can tell a lot of heart went into the show and making it feel like a world at times, and I think that's the production helps immensely with that.
Mm-hmm. Ruby, what do you think about the production?
I mean, you guys are really just taking all the words out of my mouth, and I just am just coming up with things on the spot at this point. But like, yeah, everything in the show does feel like it's film quality, and it definitely is kind of just like making me ask myself, like, why didn't any of like the movies ever think about this? But then again, I kind of remind myself, well, back then Disney didn't even know what to do that much with Star Wars when The Force Awakens came out, so it's just like they're kind of working with what they got for right now, so they just kind of needed to give themselves like a few years to get themselves grounded and to give them a good general idea of what they do want. And I feel like doing The Mandalorian and shooting it the way that they did was a good stepping off point from whatever they started off with.
Mm. Yeah. See what happens when you have.
What I'm saying is, like, it takes years to get effects like this to be done right, rather than just like going off on it like right off the bat. You know.
And then, to have, people that know about animation the best, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni working together on this, so I expect great quality, and that's what they gave us. So. But yeah, so what did you guys think about Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian?
Loved him. And like you said, like I didn't even know that it was him. I didn't even look up the cast, and I didn't even look at the credits on the show until after I was done watching the finale. I didn't even know that he was playing that role, and I'm glad he was. He killed it for both how he. I like to say character acting, how he acted as the character without speaking, and then how he spoke as the character. Just all felt like, he's not Pascal, he's the Mandalorian,
Mm-hmm.
Now, I may get a little bit more in depth than I was saying earlier about loving Pedro Pascal's performance. Now, as I was watching this show, I had a really nerdy thought creep in the back of my head. If I was ever going to do a Metroid show, I would have whoever played Samus Aran study how Pedro Pascal emotes through his physicality. That carries, like, the level of concern he has for the child, whatever it's in danger, or the little bits of annoyance he has. He comes off as cool, but still, like, dorky at times, in a way. Like, when he's fighting with all the various creatures that kick his ass, there's a level of, like, oh no, things are happening, I'm not sure we're going to get out of this one. And desperation that he conveys really well. I mean, it's not just Pedro Pascal, there were also doubles that played, and I would also like to congratulate them because the consistency between the two other doubles and Pedro Pascal is virtually seamless. So I'd like to say that the consistency between the performances is worth celebrating onto itself. But this character and the physical performances that make up the Mandalorian himself, I think that they did such a good job with vulnerability and with just being a sheer badass at times. There is so much here I would love to see in other science fiction works with helmeted characters like this, because there's a level of immersion too, and it's all amazing how they convey this without a single facial expression, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Pedro Pascal's voice has a really cool weight, very nicely, and it's very soothing to hear.
Yeah.
It comes off like a cold bounty hunter, and I think that's cool too. So I mean, it's really important that you get the right actor who has a nice sounding voice and voice that can emote properly. Again, to contrast this with hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Oh, sure. Sorry, I heard a funny beep inside Discord.
Yeah, me too. I was like,
but
what?
just to contrast this with Gwendolyn Christie from the sequel trilogy as Captain Phasma, where I feel like as much as I adored how cool that character's design was, there was not much there. She was just tall and intimidating. This is how I would want a character like that to be had. The Mandalorian is in a way the inverse of Boba and Jango Fett performance-wise, where they only stood around and looked cool. The Mandalorian acts and presents as cool and exudes coolness to me.
I give more credit to Django because he was trying harder than Boba, but I do see what you're saying.
I was gonna say I probably would have rooted for Django more.
Fair. But yeah, I just would, if I ever were to see a Metroid adaptation or any adaptation, or like heck, even if I did a live action version of Goblin Slayer or Doom, I would want them to study this. I would point to the actor and go, watch how to emote behind a full suit like this.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's how you do it.
Yes. What you think, Ruby?
It's really interesting to watch. Like, for me, I didn't really know who Pedro Pascal was. Like, I never saw him in any other projects. This is the first time I'm seeing him. His voice definitely fits the character of a Mandalorian. Like, whenever you hear Mandalorian, that's kind of what I need to hear. And it's more interesting to put a voice to a character and like a physical appearance rather than like having to see how they like react like facially, because they only showed him off for like, well, for spoilers, they only showed him off like his face for a good like maybe 30 seconds tops.
Mm-hmm.
And like the rest of that season he filmed it like under the mask, and it was really interesting to hear how he interacts with not only with other characters but like the environment itself around him. Like even when he's like fighting off against like all of these like weird monsters and having to deal with, I'm gonna say it, Baby Yoda.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, Baby Yoda exists.
But just seeing him like interact without even having to like see his face is more interesting to watch rather than just like having to like see him like take off his mask every once in a while. And it's always nice to hear him say stuff like, you know, he doesn't want to take off the mask.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that right there was kind of like the deal breaker of like, okay, like, is there a reason why you're not taking off the mask? And, you know, there's a reason for that. And I like how they explained it in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Going into that, before we get to the episodes, I know people want us to get to the episodes, but do you feel like it's the whole thing of them not revealing their face? Do you feel that is consistent with what we've seen in the Clone Wars and Rebels?
No.
Yeah,
Not at all.
that's what I
Not at
feel.
all.
That's
It's cool that they have that.
Yeah.
Plus the thing is, like, with Clone Wars, those, like, when you see the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars, they are among their people. They're not, like, among their targets throughout the series. Like, you pretty much only see the actual Mandalorians on Mandalore. And with Rebels, it's like, you know, the Mandalorians have kind of, like, lost their way, really. Like, I kind of feel like the Mandalorian is, like, just one of those people that's kind of holding on to that old tradition of don't show your face, you know?
Yeah. Like,
And they even held off with that tradition, like, even in front of, like, other Mandalorians. Like, you couldn't take off your helmet. They addressed it in Mandalorian. You can't take off your helmet in front of other Mandalorians. But then you see Clone Wars seeing, who was the bald guy leader of
the main leader of the
him and Bo-Katan. You see all those guys like take off their helmets like all the time, and then you see them like talking a Mandalorian like, oh, you can't take off your helmet because at that point you're not a Mandalorian anymore. It's just like, then why the fuck did they do that in the Clone Wars?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, one, that I feel like they should have kept the in front of other Mandalorians out, and two, I kind of wonder if maybe it was affected, like maybe if that was the tradition that was upheld before the Clone Wars, and like once the Clone Wars really started getting into the heat of things and things started spreading to Mandalore, they were kind of like, whatever.
That's what I was thinking. Like, that's probably like the only thing I could think about is like maybe after Order 66 and like their way of life in society was pretty much destroyed because the clones took over and like all the most of their Mandalorian people are dead. So it's like they want to keep themselves secret to keep their society alive or something like that. But
yeah, they were probably like, hey, like we need to make sure you're not one of those fets, those sellouts that sold out to the public or whatever.
If I may explain, possibly, like, not to just be putting duct tape over unaddressed issues between the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian, but there's a common thing with like religious practice and tribal cultural practices where traditions degrade, and the faction that the Mandalorian could be a part of might be a more traditionalist, tightly knit variation of the Mandalorians that we are presented with in the series versus a degraded or separate, more free-thinking. So it's like the term "you lost your tradition" or "you lost your way" to one Mandalorian can legitimately mean this is the way. For other Mandalorians, it could be like that's the old way. So I think that there's a possible explanation for that inconsistency. Not saying that I would know 100%, but I think that's at least with real-world religions, you see that type of decay all the time.
Well, no, I do kind of agree with you because it's kind of the same with Jedi as well. If I can go into that topic, like, like their whole you can't have relationships or whatever, but like, what was it in the lore? Ki-Adi-Mundi had like wives or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Star Wars theory. If you're listening to this, can you do a video of why they cover their faces and stuff like that? Why is it not consistent with the Clone Wars? Please.
Also, shout-outs to Star Wars theory.
Yes, shout out to Star Wars theory. I love your content. Please subscribe to me. I want to be on your channel one day. Please do it. He's not watching this. He's not watching this.
Star Wars theory or Elseworlds.
Yes. Okay, so we can get into the episodes now. So, episode 1. I forgot the name of it. I think it's just called the chapter 1.
I think it's just called The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian, yeah.
Actually, I have the episode guide right here, y'all, so I can quote the episode titles.
Sweet. So yeah.
Disney Plus.
Right.
Yeah, chapter 1, The Mandalorian.
Yep. So this episode is directed by Jon Favreau. So this is the episode where we first get introduced to the Mandalorian, and he's has this mission where he has to get this weird blue fish alien guy, and just pretty much just establishing how much of a badass Mandalorian is. He gets in that squabble at that bar and knocks out these 2 other bounty hunters, and he gets that one bounty hunter slices him in half with the door of the entrance of the bar. I thought that was pretty cool, and then leads to us him meeting up with the guy that gives him work, I guess, Carl Weathers' character, Grief Karga. He gives him the secret mission that the Empire, or not the Empire, because technically the Empire's not around, but they technically are. And that's a motorcycle outside, if you guys hear that. Sorry about that. But he gives him the mission about getting this, like, secret thing. They don't know what it is. Like, they either want it dead or alive, so he goes after it on this other planet, and he meets up with a bounty hunter droid called IG-11, and they team up for a little bit because they're both after the same bounty, and they get into this shootout at this little town, which I thought was amazing. I thought that was great. I'll get into IG-11 in a second, but after they win the shootout, then they find the secret cargo, and it's revealed that it's a little baby Yoda alien thing. I know it's not called Yoda, but we don't know the name of its species, so we're just gonna call it Baby Yoda, or Beef's gonna call it the child. But yeah, so it's revealed that it's this little Baby Yoda child, and then IG-11's like, he has orders to kill it, but then the Mandalorian shoots IG-11 dead and takes the baby alive back to the people with Grief Karga and whoever wanted the bounty, Nick Nolte's Wait, no, not Werner Herzog's character, the client. Whatever it is.
Client.
The client. Yep. So, what did you guys think about this episode?
Solid, you know, it was a fantastic introduction to, like, I was already looking forward to the series when it got announced. I'd been, like, trying to follow the production, trying to follow when the episodes would be coming out, and then it just kind of, like, dropped out of nowhere. I remember I was working on one of my shifts, and my boss was like, hey, Mandalorian just came out, and I was like, what? And then I watched it on my lunch break. But, no, I thought it was a fantastic introduction to the series. You know, it makes you want more. The little, like, ending part where they introduce the child, like, you know, it was nice to see that and get that introduction to that character. It made you wonder what was going to be next for that character. And they also kind of built tension when they made it seem like IG-11 was just going to shoot the thing. So, like, part of me was like, oh, is, like, the Mandalorian actually just going to let this happen? Like, is this the tone they're setting for the series?
I was like, oh, that's gonna be pretty dark if they actually was like, we're gonna shoot the kid dead.
I was like, jeez, alright.
Disney!
Alright. The Adventures of Mandalorian and IG-11, let's go. But, no, I thought it was a fantastic introduction to the series, and it definitely made me look forward to how the Mandalorian was going to develop as a character throughout, because you do see that caring side of him when he saves the child, so.
Mm-hmm. Alright, Beef, what you think about episode 1?
Alright, so just a couple. It's all fresh in my mind, so it's a little bit more scattered, but that fresh digestion is going through. So, I think the first episode was great. The client, Werner Herzog, and his very strong German accent, I was surprised to see him, actually, because I didn't check the casting list. And I wondered why was Werner Herzog all over the news of this drop, because I've been a fan of his documentaries. I was like, why is he involved with Star Wars? Why is he commenting on Baby Yoda? And so I watched it and went, oh, hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there. That was a fun surprise, and hearing him play this very cool old Imperial guard that's stealthily manipulative in that scene, because I feel like this level of power between the Mandalorian and him was clearly in his favor. When he's like, they tell you to stand down, he like doubled down on being a professional and was like, you're going to like, we're gonna raise this deal my way still. Take a seat, I'll have them stand down, but just know you're on my terms. I feel like it was a very powerful character establishing moment for him. He gave a great performance, and that got the intrigue of the show really. And I enjoyed the Ugnaught, Quill. I think that his little, like, helping him out when he's getting his shit pushed in by a wild beast on the dudes of that planet is pretty great. And I think when they get to that town and you see IG-11, I knew IG-11 wouldn't survive. He did too much work too quickly. Like, you don't just see a character body a whole town of bandits and know that they're gonna stick around. I'm like, there's no way that, like, and you made a comment of Adventures of IG-11 and The Mandalorian. I was like, nah, he's too competent. That thing just took out an entire village by its damn self, pretty much.
See, I didn't think he was going to get bodied that early, because I liked that he was bodying everybody. I thought he was going to be part of the team or whatever, or be Mando's partner or whatever. I thought that was cool, but I was like,
I also thought, too, that, like, it would have been too by the books for him to have a droid partner, because we've seen that pairing so many times now. So, when you had... Also, this is the first time, I think, in a live-action film that I've seen. Like, it'll keep to SO shot people, but, like, we've seen an assassin droid actually going off. So it's funny to see this clunky, stiff-looking machine calculate and then just dunk on every person in proximity. That was cool. It was the first time I really got to see that. At least I personally have gotten to see that, or at least it be notable to me. I think Taika Waititi's performance as that robot is really interesting in contrast to the types of characters that he normally plays, where that robot is, like, very serious and not joking around at all. And its only comedic moment is, I'm gonna blow myself up. And the Mandalorian is just like, please don't do that.
Please don't blow yourself up. And he keeps doing it 3 times.
No, it doesn't have to end like this.
Yeah, he keeps doing it he does 3 times. Like, I'm gonna blow myself up, and the man's like, stop it!
Yeah, I think that's the only comical moment with that character. So I liked that it was a character that was somehow more serious and stern than the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But another pilot establishes the Mandalorian as a badass who is not infallible. Again, he got pinned down, but he still feels badass. But he did get stomped a little bit by wild animals and had to have his little Ugnaught buddy, Quill, help him out. And also, I just like Quill. I have spoken.
I have spoken.
Like that's a great little catchphrase for him. That character stuck out to me because he feels, in a way, he feels like the most video game tutorial character ever conceived, where there is no reason for him to help the Mandalorian aside of the kindness of his heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I liked that there was this character who is just unambiguously a homie.
Yeah.
So it kind of set a nice tone for the show. Also, I like how the Mandalorian is really competent. Like, in contrast to Finn in the sequel trilogy, and in contrast to Rey as well, the Mandalorian is exactly how you should balance a protagonist to me, where, yeah, they screw up sometimes. You can see he was on the ropes several times. But you can also see, hey, this is why he never loses. Because he edges it out, because he thinks a little bit, because he doubles down when people don't think he will.
Yeah, it's like, I want to emphasize, I do like Rey and Finn, but Finn is like, he messes up too much, and Rey is too perfect.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's like, in the middle, you have the Mandalorian and like a Luke Skywalker, or arguably an Anakin, where I'm like, I feel more like these characters are corrupt. Mm-hmm. That's that Rey didn't have. Again, Rey definitely did become more rounded by the end. It was just, you were 2 movies too late for me. But I will say that, I think that the Mandalorian, to me, was just such an interesting character immediately, and such an arresting that this first step really sold me. And that's how I got strapped in for the wild ride.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Ruby?
I'm just going to keep mine a little bit brief and simple. The first episode really kind of set the tone for what a show is really want to present itself as. I don't know. I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of the episode. Like, I enjoyed seeing a new. I don't want to say new color scheme, but that's kind of what I'm getting from this kind of show, because you don't really see a scheme of a show like this compared to anything else that we've seen before. Like, this is a different flavor, and I think it tastes really good.
Oh yeah.
And the camaraderie between Mando and IG-88, or IG-11, my bad. I'm so used to IG-88. IG-11, I do think that it was a lot of fun watching him temporarily team up for a bit, but then all of a sudden you see IG-11 attempted to shoot or exterminate Baby Yoda, but then you zoom in on Mando's face, or mask I would say, thinking that he's actually going to allow IG-11 to do it, but instead we start to figure out that he actually just shot IG-11. Mm-hmm. And it really just kind of creates this massive, plot that really just kind of transcends the show to miles.
Mm-hmm. What I also want to point out before we move on, you guys kind of already lightly touched on it. I like the interaction between Mandalorian and Quill. Quill. Yes.
I love his character, by the way. He's one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, I love him so much. Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. I definitely like that. I like the interaction that he has with Mando, and that little segment that they have before Mando meets up with IG-11 in that shootout. I actually like the little moments like that, because he's teaching him how to ride that I don't know, it looks like
thing.
It looks like a monster tadpole or something. Like I don't.
It's got some weird sci-fi name.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. I like the moments like that because in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, does he really need to learn how to ride this? Couldn't he technically just fly his ship to whatever? But it answers that question literally like a few minutes after I even asked that, because it's like it's deep in the caverns where the ship couldn't possibly get there. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So it's like stuff that I initially thought was filler actually, helps to build character, and there's actually reason to what's going on. It just doesn't feel like it's just halting the episode for no reasons. So definitely like that. And yes, I have spoken has become one of the most iconic lines in Star Wars.
That's my favorite line. That's my favorite line of all of them so far.
That line was swarming the internet for the longest time too.
Absolutely. T-shirts, there's already there. It's already there. All right.
I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one too. All right, moving on to episode 2, which is The Child. So, this one is directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Wait, no. I think it's Rick Famuyiwa. Yeah. So the Mandalorian gets the child after shooting IG-11 because he wants to keep it alive. On the way back to the ship, he encounters this giant rhino alien and almost gets killed, and then it reveals that Baby Yoda has the Force as well and helps the Mandalorian stop the rhino thing. And then when they get back to the ship, it's found out that Jawas took parts of his ship, and he tries to chase after the Jawas on their giant vehicle tank thing, and he fails. And so he goes back to Quill to help get his stuff back from the Jawas, and the Jawas are like, in order to get your stuff back, you gotta do something for us. And so they tell him to get this egg from the monster rhino thing, and then they go back to I forgot what planet were they on in the first episode.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm just gonna.
All I can tell you is that it wasn't Tatooine.
Yeah, it was not Tatooine. So he takes the child back to whatever planet that they're on, and then it's a cliffhanger because like Mando's like not so sure if he wants to let them take the child to the Empire, and I think it's a cliffhanger on that. So, what did you guys think about that episode?
I thought it was good. Going into that episode, even though, like I said, I saw, that it was like a caring side of the Mandalorian or whatever, saving the child. Also, going into that second episode, I kind of calmed down from those feelings and was like, well, he's a bounty hunter first off, so he might be trying to make some sort of profit off of this. And seeing that kind of uncertainty at the end was pretty cool. And I like the interactions with the Jawas and seeing the sand crawlers again. It was just nice to see those on screen again outside of like the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides that, I don't really have too many comments for this episode. I mean, liked it like every other episode.
Mm.
But
Ruby, I'll let you go next since I feel bad that you don't have much to say at the end.
No, it's all right. I'm just trying to make sure that we're moving things along a little bit. But this episode, the only thing I really don't like about it is that the Jawas are just like involved with it. Like I appreciate like they go in depth with like what the Jawas like actually do, and we get like demonstrations of like what they can do, because I think in like any of the original movies, I don't think they really demonstrated what the Jawas like actually do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Other than just like selling droids and just sticking them away.
Mm.
But with here, you see them like taking away like a lot of parts of Mando's ship, which is the overall result of why the episode exists, which I guess is fine for like filler in like in the way of like going further in depth with Mando's character and what he wants to do with the child, and the child able to show off that he's a Force user, except they don't really say like what it is, because apparently they don't know what the Force is or what the Jedi is, apparently.
I mean, it's a big galaxy. Not everyone will know about it.
I know. It's just like it's like I don't know. It just felt awkward the way they showcased it and the way they presented. Like they didn't really know what Jedi was, and it was like interesting yet kind of conflicting on why they would feel that way, because it just feels like, like every other show that we've seen like has heard a thing or two about the Jedi, but then you go to Mandalorian and they don't know a single thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird, but at the same time, like, the galaxy that's, like, at this point, 25 years after Order 66?
I think so.
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, this takes place after Return
of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how many years passed between episodes 4 and 6. I want to say it was 5, might have been more.
It's around 5, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's been a galaxy that's been without the Jedi Order for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I do feel like, the effects really kind of... I want to say that the effects kind of took its toll a little bit in this episode, because they showed off what they could do visually with the beast that they had, which is a lot better than what Rogue One will ever do.
That fucking tentacle monster, I hate it.
You could actually agree with me on this.
That fucking tentacle...
I agree.
I hate that tentacle monster so much. Why was it in Rogue One? God damn it! I hate it!
But yeah, they really did a good job with the effects for this episode and making us feel like, like we're kind of, in a way, we're kind of taken back to the original trilogy in a way, because like we never really saw the stand crawlers ever since episode 4. I feel like.
Yeah.
Or
Or
like,
if you're going to prequel.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
In live action, not since episode 4.
Yeah. Or if you're talking about the prequels.
Other than that, I mean, it was an episode, and I felt like by the time we were leaving Quell, we kind of figured, like, in the back of our heads, like, we might be seeing him later, but we might not. It'd be cool if we did, but if we don't, it'd be fine, because it was a pretty nice send-off to the character for that episode, and I felt like he earned just that amount of time in that series.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I have a confession. I hate Jawas. I hate them. I hate them so much. Yeah, I do. Yeah, people have their problems with the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. Fuck y'all. The Jawas are fucking annoying. I hate the Jawas so much.
Okay, well, I can't
They are so annoying.
But, like, the Jawas are annoying, but like they don't. The thing with the difference between the Jawas and the Ewoks is that the Jawas actually showcase that they can actually die to an evil galactic empire.
Yeah.
Rather than having your tiny bear workshop take out an entire evil force.
You know what?
In one sitting.
I still don't have a problem with that. The Jawas
That
have
is
just...
so ridiculous.
Alright.
For the sand people over the Jawas, in all honesty.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, they were...
They were actually cool.
Yeah, they were...
Like, they had a cool design.
Yeah, they were annoying in A New Hope, and I was dreading seeing them again, even though...
And rightfully so.
Yes, and I'm glad they only had, like, 5 seconds of screen time in Attack of the Clones. I'm like, yep, goodbye, don't want to see you anymore. So, I mean... Not to say that that is taken away from my enjoyment of the episode, because I do think it's a well-directed episode, and I did like the Rhino stuff. I personally didn't think the effects was a declining in the episode. I still think it was pretty consistent with the previous episode.
I didn't mean to say it was like the start of the decline. It was like it was more of like the rise rather than decline. Is what I was trying to say.
Right. I also, we didn't talk about this for episode 1, but that Arctic creature that came out of the ice, I thought that was a pretty cool effect too. But yeah, when the Jawas came in, I'm like, oh, it was just, I felt that part was kind of I felt that part was like unnecessary filler. Like maybe not so much because of the direction was bad, but it's just like I just don't like the idea of the Ewoks. They're just stalling him and making him do something stupid. Like, why are you trading with the stuff that you stole from him? Like you fucking idiots.
That's what Jawas do, dude.
I hate him. Like I hate him so much. But I'm like, I thought it was still a well directed episode. I still like the seeing Quill trying to negotiate with the Jawas, and I like that Mando keeps getting upset because he tells him not to use the weapons, but then like the Jawas talk back at Mando, and he's like, "Oh, really? I got your stuff right here." And then he gets the flamethrower on his arm, and then he, so I'm like, that was funny. Yeah. So
I have, but a single comment to the Jawas, to all you Jawa haters. That's all. But this is a goofy noise. Jawas, I think, okay, for this episode, I'll just interject, but with the Jawas in this episode, I was very happy to see them again. You're not supposed to like them. They're kind of like the Tusken Raiders. You're not supposed to like them. You're supposed to be a little shit.
even though I like the Tusken Raiders because they're badass.
Literally, what happens if you park your car in the wrong neighborhood? They strip your shit and it's gone.
Yeah, see the difference with the
That's supposed
Tusken
to be
Raiders.
delightful.
Yeah, though the difference with the Tusken Raiders is, yeah, they can be annoying too, but they were badass also. Like they were intimidating presence.
cool.
The Jawas are just annoying little shits. So I'm
They
like,
have spears. They don't care if you. They have spears that shoot lasers and stuff. It's cool.
yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna say something to you. I'm gonna say something real controversial here. I don't find Unga motherfuckers like with spears to be that deep. Now, if out of the fantasy races of Star Wars, I've got no problem with Ewoks, Porgs, or Jawas. Tusken Raiders are pretty. I don't have a problem with them per se, because they get. You just need that. You need orcs in your fantasy universe. You need the orc. That's all they are to me, as I just see them as equivalent to any other like low fantasy stories, or just replacing. Sorry, it's just a funny noise. But like, it's distinct, and they are terrifying. Again, see what happened to Shmi.
Yeah. You saw what they did to Luke.
Yeah, they fucked him up.
Skywalker clan is justified in the racism against them.
And they almost tried to kill people in the pod race. Yeah, and they almost tried to kill people in the pod race. They were shooting them down while they were racing. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you saw that they have lasers on those things.
They're just orcs. They're just it's like in an RPG when you load up. They're like the Goomba. They just show up and start beating the shit out of you, and you're like, why would you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just
You can't rationalize with evil. Yeah, they want your lunch money. They want your lunch money, and they just want to burn your town down. And then, have you ever? I have a question. Do we ever even see a Tusken Raider settlement in the series? I don't remember.
Yeah, in episode 2. Well, Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Episode 2, you're right. Okay, yeah.
It's episode 5.
Because I would say, like, are these guys just like Mongols? So they just wander around and beat shit up? But yeah, you're right. There is a little settle. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah. Now I
don't know, I just think it's so goofy. They're just always out here causing trouble every chance they get.
It's the way of life.
Yeah. That's
all right. I'm gonna close that out, but I'll give my commentary on the episode in a moment. But yeah, I'll let you guys finish up with your other bit.
Yeah, I would just say, speaking of the Tusken Raiders, I actually don't like what they did with the Tusken Raiders in this episode, but in this series, but we'll get to that later. But I think I just pretty much said all I had to say about it. I did enjoy the episode, even though I don't like the Jawas. I like the funny stuff that they did with Quill and Mandalorian. So it was just more character building, and yeah, like I said, I did like the Rhino encounter, even though the mission that the Jawas gave him was stupid. And we want the egg, this weird looking egg. Like, okay,
being greedy.
Yeah. So I thought it was a well directed episode, and I think also the Mandalorian was encountering these other bounty hunters with the same thing, so he got into a squabble with that. So I thought that was cool, and I think Mando got a scar on his arm, and Baby Yoda kept trying to go up to it and heal it, but then Mando's like, go get back to your thing. Like, so they're little tease. I don't know how
You turn down the medic.
turn down the medic exactly. I don't know how I feel about them introducing the force powers this early. I don't know how to feel about it because, like, I mean, I guess they have a lot of wiggle room to do this since we've never seen Yoda's kind like this, so it's like they could explore it and do whatever. So I guess they're implying that Yoda's species is very strong in the Force.
Yeah, and that's what I think they were going for, is that they're just all force sensitive, which, wow.
Yeah, so that is interesting. Though part of me is like, I wish that was something they would have saved. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess they wanted to establish that because Baby Yoda uses his force powers more in the show, so it's not just a one-off thing. So I guess that's fine. But I guess, yeah. So if they're establishing that species is strong in the force, and hopefully we'll see a payoff someday in the future. I don't know what way, shape, or form, but yeah. So that's my only apprehension about it. But yeah, go ahead, Beef.
Skip me a moment.
Skip you a moment. Okay.
Okay. I was gonna say, if I may, I feel like we might not really have any sort of payoff with the whole finding out that the whole species is force sensitive, because I feel like part of Order 66 might have been, hey, kill all the Yoda people. You know, because I imagine Palpatine was pretty knowledgeable about what they could do.
So do you think he knows where his species are?
Well, I think that was probably one of the first things he did when he got into power, was kill off his race.
Oh, okay. Because they keep teasing, need to bring him back to his family, bring him back to his family. It's like, I was thinking maybe we would see that one.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, when they finally get to, like, oh, he got to his family, they're all dead.
Oh, that'd be dark.
Yeah.
You get to his planet and everything's gone and destroyed. I'm like, oh,
Right.
shit, is Avatar Last Airbender anybody?
Right. Yeah, have Baby Yoda going in the Avatar state and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll...
I'm ready now.
Are you ready now? Okay, go.
Yes, sorry, I said use restroom.
Okay.
Alright, so, let me go ahead and say that I think that the second episode is pretty delightful, as I'll put it. I think the scene with the monster battle, as cheesy as it looked with the rhinoceros but slightly bigger, levitating in the air, I think you raised a good point with how come Order 66 didn't just go, we're going to find these little green shits, we're going to put an extinguisher to all, which I think is what this part's about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Yoda species, I feel like back in like the 1980s or 70s, my dad mentioned like trading cards, and I'm pretty sure they had a species written down, but I don't think it's canon anymore.
Yeah,
It's probably
expanded universe stuff.
yeah, or I feel like my dad mentioned something, but yeah, he knows now that there's no known name for the species. It's just a Yoda. But with this child, I'm gonna be pretentious, but yeah, with the child levitating the rhinoceros monster thing, the effect looked cheesy. It was cool to see though, and I like that they did establish force powers this early personally, because you're setting up for this is the setting where it's Star Wars. I think the Force, its presence alone denotes a Star Wars. And I feel like it's a checkmark thing where it's just off the list. And I know Ruby had some sentiments about this not being like Star Wars, and I could see that. And while I personally think that what makes the show have its distinct flavor is that it sometimes falls into like a Western, like a good, the bad, the ugly, or it dips into a tone with like a Seven Samurai, or it goes into a style like, dare I say it, Firefly at times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It has those essences. This little bit right here was very Star Wars, and I love seeing this little puppet wiggle his arm out and then get the cutest thing on the planet. He just passes out. It's like, Baby Yoda is, to me, the first big breakthrough of Disney making cute mascots for the series, because that actually kind of hits. I was like, oh, you are adorable.
You mean you didn't like the Porgs?
Oh, okay, well, actually, I feel pretty... People find the porgs so annoying. I find them neutral.
Neutral?
Like, they don't really... I have no strong feelings one way or the other about porgs. I think that they're cute design-wise, but they're not affectionate, and it's also kind of gross to see Chewie eating one, so that makes it less cute by default, because it's like, I find chickens cute, but there's a way I can never find them cute, in the same way I can find a cat cute, because I'm going to shove that in my mouth at KFC later. So, when I see a porg, I'm like, Chewie would shove it in his mouth later, so I can't really find you all that cute when your life is as disposable as Colonel Sanders' chickens.
Damn.
So, but the Baby Yoda, I'm like, this is a home run. I saw it, fell in love with the cuteness of it, its little chirps and cooing, as the captions say every 5 seconds, it coos. I think with the Jawas, though, the little video gaming quest, go retrieve the egg to move on in your journey.
Yeah.
I think that it felt like a filler moment, but I get what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Trying to show off the resources and efficiency of the Mandalorian. So I think this episode was kind of like a nice little stretch out the middle part of the journey, because it's the first arc of the season is the child and retrieving it and what they'll do, which leads to the next episode. So my bit, episode 2 is a fine introduction to the child, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you actually put it in perfectly. That feels like a video game mission, like with the Jawas, and then the stuff with the Baby Yoda using the Force, like it feels like it's a checklist, like, oh, we gotta see the Force. That's what it felt like to me. So that's why I guess it kind of bothered me, because like I was liking that it was its own thing and it's not calling too much. It doesn't need the Force or whatever to, be established in the show this quickly, but it's like it literally felt like a checklist. Oh, we gotta see into the Force because it's Baby Yoda. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll do this now. That's fine. We'll see how this goes. I'm like, I just feel like they could have waited for that, maybe like towards the end of the season or something. But like I said, like I'm more okay with it because it's not a one-off thing with Baby Yoda. He doesn't just do it one time and you don't see him use it ever again. He uses it throughout, so I'm more okay with it.
It is cute when he passes out. Yeah, I think the most adorable part is he gets tired whenever he does it.
Oh yeah, I also like that because like they could have, because of like,
it's a child.
Yeah, it's a child. And it's like if they had him like use the Force and then still be okay, like he would have turned into an OP weapon, which I didn't want that at all. I wanted there to be consequences with him. So
he'd be like Jack from The Incredibles, where he's like a bomb that could one shot whatever enemy you're facing or be completely useless.
Exactly.
And that's too convenient for the writers, in my opinion.
Right.
So I like that they establish with these little scenes, this is the limitation of his power. You can see he can force levitate things for a couple seconds and he passes out. He tries to heal you, but like, we have established that like, whenever he does, what they're establishing is whenever he does anything with the Force, he gets tuckered out, like a baby would from crying, or like a small child would from exhausted activity.
Yeah, he's not proficient in the Force yet. He's not been trained.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out, too, with the whole Force sensitivity thing, this show kind of throws a wrench in the light side, dark side thing, which the later episode will bring up, because I like that the child is just a Force user, and I feel like that was more what The Last Jedi tried to establish, is that the Force is, and it's the users that bend it to be light or dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that The Last Jedi did a better, tried to establish that. It never got to, because the problem with that film is that a lot of ideas never quite flourish in the way I would have wanted them to. But I think this series does that implicitly in a way that I find a bit more satisfactory, because Baby Yoda is doing Jedi stuff, but he's not really, doesn't really have a consciousness per se. He's just doing Force stuff. So it throws a monkey wrench in the whole, the Force bends to the good, it's just innately good or evil. It's the Force, and you are good or evil using it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely see that thing they were trying to expand on from The Last Jedi. So yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's not inherently dark or inherently light. So I definitely agree with you on that. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to episode 3. That is The Sin.
The Sin.
Yep, and it's directed by Deborah Chow, I believe. Yeah, I think it's Deborah Chow. So this episode, Mandalorian takes Baby Yoda back to that planet. We don't know what it is. And then he gives it to the client and the Imperial officers, and then he gets this huge reward. We didn't establish that the rewards that you're getting are these Imperial, I think, credits or something. It's like these silver rectangular stuff, and he doesn't use it for money. He actually takes it back to his Mandalorian hideout, where this head female Mandalorian general person takes the credits and melds them into armor that the Mandalorian can use. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So so all his armor is brand new in silver. It looks really good. That was one thing I was kind of like scratching my head at first, because all the promo stuff, it showed that he had really nice shiny silver armor, but the first couple episodes he's all ruggedy and stuff, so I'm like, wait a minute, that's not consistent with stuff. But then they answered that question too, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So after he gets his new armor, he asks Grief about the child more, but then there's a rule like you don't ask questions about what the bounty's going to or whatever, and so he then decides he's going to break Baby Yoda out of the hands of the Imperial officers and run away with it. So he sneaks into the facility where Baby Yoda is, and he takes it, but then Grief and the other bounty hunters know that he has it, and so they're trying to get him to give it back, but then he's gonna get into a firefight with all of them, and so he attempts to escape, but the numbers are too much for him. But then an army of Mandalorians come and help him out with jetpacks and blasters, and then there's this whole firefight at night, which I thought was really cool. And then the Mandalorian escapes, and he shoots and knocks out Grief. And that's the episode. So, what did you guys think about this one?
I liked it. I did like how they did the whole thing with the credits, because I kind of felt like it made sense, really, for the Mandalorian not really use the credits to buy stuff, but rather to just make stuff that's useful to him. Because for a bounty hunter or a Mandalorian, I imagine the main thing that's on their mind is like, how can I improve my armor, just constantly thinking about combat or whatever, because they're supposed to be kind of like these proud warriors or whatever. But, I liked that, and that was like the main detail I liked in that episode. I don't really have too much to say about episode 3, but...
Right.
Okay.
May I go on? May I speak up for myself here for 3?
Okay.
So to establish business, that because he's getting credits as well, because there's Imperial chits he receives, which is what he expends throughout the series on things like repairs. But that steel comes from the moons of Mandalore, and it's very rare and has been seized by the Imperials, which is why it's so important. Because it's their birthright material. So that's why it's so important that he has that.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's why the armorer that works at where the Mandalorian goes back to, the armorer that he talks to is like, this excess will help others get their I forgot what she says, like sigil or their sign or whatever. That's why it's so valuable, is because that was their steel that they lost that he's bringing back to them. Which is why the conflict that he has with the big boy Mandalorian that's just pissed that he's bringing home this Imperial steel is because it's like you're working with the people who stole our steel. That's why that whole fight breaks out like that. So I think it's cool that they established that the stakes are much higher for this guy because he is so elusive and like his community is so taken advantage of and has to get the stuff back. So it's kind of like going up to the dudes that took your land for your land back, and that's why people are pissed, because it's weakness. And it's a way of, and again, this is the way. They have to get it back somehow. So I think that's cool that the episode establishes all of that, I think the retrieval of the child is a pretty sick moment because, I mean, it's funny because Baby Yoda's endearing design makes you understand why the Mandalorian has to go back to get, because that thing is so cute and it's so helpful and it's so innocent. You can just look at it and tell. So I completely was like, yeah, I would go back there and kick their ass for that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the episodes where I feel like I'm gonna have like the least amount of knowledge on, because it's like there's a lot of stuff that happens in the episode, but nothing that really like draws my attention aside from Mando actually going back rescuing Baby Yoda because he just wants to take it for himself, and you know, he wants to protect it. He wants to, you know, make sure it's not put in any harm's way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I really do like the guy. What's his name again? Grief
Karga.
Grief Karga. Yeah, I really enjoyed this character, and I thought that at the end of the episode when he got shot, I thought it was going to be like another moment where it's like, oh well, he's another Darth Maul, where he's one of those characters where it's like he's interesting, but then we don't get to learn anything more about him because he got shot. But then we get to figure out that he's still alive by the end of the episode, and it's just like, okay, he's still good. He's still there.
Yeah.
So I think the Imperial credits thing and like the whole background about like the Imperial soldiers being there, like the stormtroopers, I felt like that was weird how they told us that. Like they kept saying like you know, the Empire is dead, like the Empire is like not here anymore, but then like there are stormtroopers still here, and like they're presented in a way of like anybody could see them.
I think it's like with that, I think it's like how after it's like there's rebel Nazis, like there's not a huge like organization of Nazis anymore, but you still have some people that are loyal to Nazis that do little stuff here and there. I think that's what they were trying to do with the Imperial officers.
Well, even that, or like how I think we kind of talked about this a little bit ago, how Jango and Boba stole the Mandalorian armor for themselves.
Yeah.
I kind of think that that's what this particular group of people did, is like they stole some of the Imperial armor so that they can seem like they're intimidating or not.
They're LARPing as Imperial troopers.
Right.
I think a little bit of that is in there, but I think more significantly, we have to understand that much like how real armies, I think, okay, so here's how I think of this. There's the thing called the Japanese relic soldiers, where in Japan, there were soldiers who, after World War II, never got the message that the war was over. So there were parts, I think, of the Philippines, where there were these soldiers who still jumped people and still attacked Filipino citizens, thinking that the war was still going. And it wasn't until, I think, 1980s that they surrendered, after they finally got letters from their families telling them to come home. I think that's kind of like a situation here, where these are isolated sects of stormtroopers who, despite the main body being exposed and destroyed, still function because they hold to those ideals.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
haven't
talking
given
about.
up yet and still go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
More so than it is just some people, like how we have the real life, how real life is analogous to the alt-right and Nazis. It's less like that and more like the relic soldiers, where it's remnants that the battle's not quite over yet, son. The South never admitted defeat. Like, it's that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they're still around, and they're on an outer planet. Again, that's clearly a planet that doesn't have much rebellion presence. And I think it's like the testament to the complexities of the politics of the Star Wars universe, how there's planets that are way more rebellion-oriented and Imperial-oriented. This is probably a planet that's just one of those Outlander planets that was, like, neutral, but far away, so Imperial forces could gather there and hang out because it's a place that they aren't necessarily hated, but it's not a territory that they, like, it's a territory that they can encroach on. which is why they're all there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, besides that little confusion about like why the stormtroopers were there and like the Imperial credits and whatnot, I think overall the episode is just like it just felt like it was another like well shot episode, and it looked beautiful, and like we got more character development from Mando. Like we got to see what his we found out what his motive was now, and we got to see what the moral of the season is more about now. But like other than that, it's just like another like it's another episode. Like Eureka, yay!
Yeah.
Right.
I overall I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun, and there was some interesting stuff with the lore with Mando that I thought was interesting. But I did have a few questions about it. I'll get into that in a second. I want to talk lightly about the director Deborah Chow, because this is the first like mainstream big budget TV show she's done. She's done normally like more like lower level indie type stuff, TV shows and stuff like that. So I was really shocked when I saw at the end of the credits, oh, Deborah Chow, oh, interesting. So I have something to look forward to when she eventually does the Obi-Wan spin-off show, because she's set to do that. So I thought she did a pretty good job with this. Because I didn't have much worries when with Jon Favreau and Rick Famuyiwa, because let's not forget, Rick Famuyiwa was almost going to do The Flash, so definitely see, oh, they missed out. Warner Brothers, you are dumb. You are fucking dumb.
Pass up these people? Oh, come on over to Disney. We'll take care.
We'll take good care.
Warner Brothers ever been smart, by the way? I mean, I'm sure they've had their moments, but like, it's
Space Jam.
Is there any
Space Jam 2? Why is that happening? Why? God damn it! I can't get Man of Steel 2, but yeah, we'll get a Space Jam movie. You fucking twats!
It was great for their music label. They had a great label for a while, and Batman, the classic Batman, but lately Warner Brothers has made dumb, ungood decisions. Very big, ungood energy.
I mean, most of their good decisions have been Looney Tunes or, debatably, the Harley Quinn movie.
Oh, and the Harley Quinn TV series. The Harley Quinn TV series.
Yeah,
TV series,
the movie is not a financial hit. I'll tell you that right now.
It wasn't, but it was...
Remember, that movie got stomped out by Sonic the Hedgehog. The last thing I saw before quarantine in theaters.
How sad is that? Sonic the Hedgehog beat Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
God damn.
I mean,
of course he
really
did.
On top of that,
video
that's
game.
the most recent movie theater experience for most people, but,
Yeah, I like Sonic the Hedgehog. I agree with you, Ruby. I really like it. But yeah, this is why you should have done Man of Steel 2, guys. What's wrong with you? Just do it. Man of Steel 2. That's what they want.
Superman wasn't really well received in Justice League, so...
Fucking release the Snyder Cut!
None of the films except Wonder Woman were well received, so I'm glad they're doing Wonder Woman 77 or whatever.
Well, there's Wonder Woman.
Why is that?
Well, let's see if they make a smart decision then.
Well, let's not forget that, Aquaman made $1 billion. Shazam did really pretty well
Shazam
too.
was good, yeah.
Joker did really well,
Yeah.
As many frustrations as I had with Joker, I still think that it's a good movie, so yeah, you're right. So I'm like, my two DC films, I think just to go this tangent for a second.
Yeah.
My DC films that I think are good are Joker, and I don't like Joker, but...
I don't like it either.
It's crafted. I like it, but I don't like it. Like I think I gave it a C+.
Yeah, me too.
Me
too!
Hey, but don't get me wrong, I think it's a good movie. It's still enjoyable. It's just
it's a well-directed movie.
But yeah, and then I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I think that was a thorough enjoyment for me. Very happy to see that was doing well, because that one could have been a really bad mess.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it took off, and it was infinitely better than Captain Marvel, which was a surprise. It's a counterpart film.
Garbage. Fucking garbage.
Not garbage, but it was just...
I have to disagree with the garbage comment, but
Captain Marvel is just a good Phase 1 Marvel film, so if we put it...
That's
on
the
same
problem!
Like the first Thor, like the first Captain America, it belongs there.
That's the problem. This mediocre Phase 1 movie is in this Phase 3 with Avengers and Black Panther and all this other shit. What are you doing here? What are you
Black
doing?
Panther is unbeatable. That was just too good.
Black Panther! Ant-Man and the Wasp was better than that! What do you mean?
Yeah. Alright.
Anyway,
we should get this
back to Mandalorian. Back to Mandalorian.
Yeah, I have my thoughts on Black Panther, but we should get back to Star Wars.
Back to Star Wars. We can do Marvel another day. But anyway, my questions I had with it was why wasn't the other Mandalorians given assignments to get Imperial credits? Like why is Mando the only one doing it? You know, there's nobody that tried to do missions to get their armor improved?
Well, they also addressed that in the episode. It was like only one Mandalorian can go out at a time.
See,
plus even if they didn't, even if they didn't address it. Oh, sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say there's that, and already the detail. The other Mandalorians don't want to work with the people who stole their land and stole their stuff.
Right.
Okay,
So
alright.
Mando is the only one that does that because he's the only one willing to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, just fuck off.
I guess.
Plus, even if they didn't address it, like it's kind of like the same plot hole of like, you know, oh, why didn't like all of Mandalore rise up against Darth Maul when he killed off their leader?
Yeah. Okay. And then that whole shootout with the Mandalorians coming to help Mando with the jetpacks. Even though I really enjoyed that scene, it was very entertaining to watch. But I felt there was a little bit of Deus Ex Machina with that. Like, why?
Yeah.
What motivated them to help Mando at that point? Like, I don't know. It just felt kind of abrupt. Even though it was fun, it was cool to see a bunch of Mandalorians flying around blasting stuff with jetpacks. But I'm like, is there a reason why they're all just like, you know what, let's help Mando, take this baby somewhere and blah blah blah. This is the way. I don't know.
Then episode 9 came out. I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah, it's typical Disney spectacle. They need to do that.
I noticed that in a lot of Disney movies, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, no one wants to help the hero. Well, I'm going to go fight them myself. Wait, we didn't think you'd actually do that. Hold on.
It's funny. This is like random, but I actually watched the Chronicles of Narnia recently, and they did that exact same thing when nobody was helping them in the battle, but then all of a sudden Aslan comes and it's like, oh, I got this freaking arsenal of nature to come help you. I'm like, why didn't you do that before?
Yeah.
God damn it. But anyway,
The trope you're looking for is called the Big Damn Heroes. That's the trope you're looking for.
Yeah.
Where everybody just pulls up. Yeah, it's called the Big Damn Heroes, where everyone just pulls up out of nowhere.
yeah.
It's just a really popular trope. Every single show does that.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to think of any form of media that hasn't
Done that exact thing. Because it's cool. It's cool as shit. It lets you know the universe is big.
Yeah.
And that there's movies everywhere.
It's cool, but when you see it multiple times in like that short span of time, because like, you know, because this episode of Mandalorian came out. When did Mandalorian season 1 release? That was like a year ago, right?
Yeah, November.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, almost a
half
year
a year,
ago.
yeah.
So, yeah, November, and then like a month later, episode 9 comes out, and you see that same trope.
Yep, it's like, oh, nobody's helping them, but oh, here comes a fleet of random ships
Right,
and
you mean
rebels.
all of us.
Look at all this shit.
Right, you and one
You
arm.
mean the squad?
On your left. Yeah, I know. It's
We'll go for hours talking about how the ending of Rise of Skywalker like completely like lines up with Endgame. They're like exactly the same.
Rebel,
It has to happen that way.
Just in game? Yeah, we did.
Avengers. I mean, rebels assemble.
Yep.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
am all the.
I am Iron Man. I mean, all the
Sith.
Jedi.
Rain fire. I mean, unlimited power.
Nothing will stop the return of the Sith. Big Force lightning that we never saw in any other Star Wars film. Like,
But the
Yeah,
Force
Paul,
Unleashed,
that's the
they were doing that
drop
shit.
you've ever heard.
But the Force Unleashed, they were doing that shit. Like, Starkiller was using Force Lightning and Force whatever to take down an entire Star Destroyer. So it's
Bring
that
down a
shit.
Star
I was gonna
Destroyer
say,
with
like,
one hand.
like Starkiller is literally just like in that. You know that he was in that same room, just like lurking around the corner. Like, okay, where the fuck is? Get the. Like Sam Witwer, like actually like playing live action Starkiller. Like, okay, get your ass out here right now.
Yeah. George Lucas was like, he's too OP, make him non-canon. But
I mean, hey, I don't blame him. Like, bruh.
well, I know there was no way Boba Fett killed that man. Like,
Oh no fucking way. But okay, moving on. We're gonna go to episode 4, which is Sanctuary, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. So Mando takes Baby Yoda somewhere where he, to be safe, and then they go to this planet where there's like this village in the forest, and then he encounters an ex-rebel soldier named Cara Dune, played by Gina Carano, and they establish there's like these Ravagers that invade their town and take all their belongings and stuff like that, and so Mando and Cara teach the village how to defend themselves against the Ravagers, and also there's this like AT-ST out of nowhere that tries to blow up the village as well, and there's also bounty hunters that are sent to hunt down Mando and Yoda, since they're now fugitives, and that's pretty much all the bulk of the episode. What did you guys think about this one?
Well,
oh yeah, go ahead.
oh no, actually, you go ahead. I talked a lot.
Well, no. I've gone first before, so you go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was about between who could be more courteous.
You go first.
No, you, I insist.
No, you, sir. But, well, I was going to say, this episode isn't directed by whoever you just said directed it. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa. It's just called Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
But no,
I'm gonna say that,
like, as I got into recently more Japanese media and film, I was like, wow, George Lucas really just stole all of this. And this episode, which is why I referenced it a lot earlier, I was referencing things that this show borrows from that don't feel like Star Wars, but in a way do. It just took from the same template as Seven Samurai, where this lone hero comes to a rundown village and trains the people up to defend themselves. But let me say some things in this episode that were cool. The AT-ST was actually scary.
Yeah.
I have never felt threatened by the tanks in the series, really. Except for Rogue One, because that one has some war film vibes. But I never really, like, because the scale is way too large, I never quite ever got to visualize how boot-shakingly terrifying a bipedal mech like that would be, until you see the red windows, like, in the darkness just pull up, and I was like, oh, that would be scary. If it was, like, that tall. And something about the way that the cinematography is done, where the cameras are looking up at that thing, which hasn't really been done before, made me suddenly feel that intimidation factor. It felt like a horror movie for a second.
Yeah, with the red tint in the windows.
Yeah, it felt very eerie to see this creepy bipedal mech come up to this tiny defenseless town, or well, now defensible town. And I liked how the episode really develops Mando's character a lot here, where there's a sense of, I want to get this child to safety. I want this town to be safe. Like, there's a care, and the Mandalorian is not a heroic character, at least initially. But this is the episode where I think he fully, like, the sin is where he does a heroic action. This is where he becomes that small town hero. And where I think he, like George Lucas would say, the hero's journey here, but I'm not going to go down that trope road. But I'm going to say that, like, this this is where I feel like the Mandalorian comes into his own as a protagonist. I think this episode is definitely like easy to dislike as well because it's a different arc from the first 3 episodes, and it feels like a sudden shift. It's like this series can be divided into its own trilogy, and this is the second trilogy of the series.
Yeah.
So the Sanctuary starts the part where the Mando struggles with, how do I deal with this child?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's cool that he raises. It's also like in the Castlevania anime where Trevor Belmont trains the townspeople how to defend against the demons. I just love that trope. Where you take the common man and you turn him into a soldier.
Yeah.
I love that idea in just in like media. Like in real life, please, peaceful, peace. But in media tropes, I adore the idea of like, we're going to stand up and defend ourselves. Yeah, rise up against that invading force. Well, in real life, who wants to, again, rise against oppression is just a really cool trope, and I like seeing it here. I like that the bandits were relying on the ATST to do the heavy lifting, and once they saw that that village wasn't going to go down without a fight, it actually fought back. I knew that I was like, okay, this is a cool way to handle that, and it's believable that once that big shiny mech falls over, they would fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that you can see the townspeople putting in those hours. They really did do the work, and I like how it's like the. I don't know if that character is named. I forgot her name. But it's like the mom that just kicks major ass and is just a crack shot with the rifle.
Oh yeah.
I love that character so much because she's just a badass wasteland mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
O'Mara.
Mara.
O'Mara.
O'Mara. That's her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, O'Mara is a really cool character. I adored her. I was like, you're so cool. I know you're never gonna appear again, but like I want you to know that you get my gold star for this episode because I just like this mom who went from cowering to just a crack shot. But yeah, I think the episode's cool. It kicks off a whole new story arc and character arc.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I kind of, like, as far as my input, I can really only just add on to what you said. Because, like, going to the ATST, like, I did get that kind of eerie factor from it. And I think a big part of that is because in the movies, when we see the ATST, as well as, like, in Rebels, like, you know, you usually see, it's usually, like, some triumphant music or whatever. And, you know, like, the heroes are gonna be fine or whatever. But like here, you don't really get that. Like it's like a completely different tone. But on top of that, when it came to like defending the village and all that, it kind of shows the difference between the Empire there and the Empire pre-Mandalorian. Because pre-Mandalorian, you know, Empire, they see a village defending themselves. Okay, cool. Just send in like something else bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they established it's not the Empire. Well, it's the Empire attack. That's what. Is that like those are just bandits that are rushing
Yeah,
the
those
town,
are
right?
bandits, ravagers.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're just bandits that are like have an ATST, and I think that still demonstrates your point though. How pre-Mandalorian Empire, it would have been like you can't beat that. But in the Mandalorian, because it's just some wastelanders, it's just some bandits that happen to get their hands on this very powerful, very dangerous stuff.
Yeah, I forgot that it was bandits. Yeah, well, okay, so like negating that point, still with the whole ATST thing,
your point's still valid. I still think it's valid. It shows pre and post Empire. Like, what does it look like?
Right. But yeah, besides that, I didn't really have too much to say about that episode. The main thing that I kind of wanted to add on was just that whole like ATST and like how they created that different atmosphere here rather than like in the movies where it was like, it's not that big of a deal. We've got the heroes here. They're gonna bring it down. It's whatever.
Yeah.
They did it a hell of a lot better than Rogue One, that's for sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I'll agree. There are a lot of things that everything has done that is better than Rogue One.
Oh no.
The only thing that carries Rogue One is Darth Vader. I said it.
Well, no. That space battle was.
You're right.
That space battle was really good too. That space battle was really good too.
Hey, K2SO.
K2SO, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, stop,
It's
Seth.
47 again, but
Yeah,
like
best droid in all of Star Wars.
Oh, IG-11 though. IG-11 though is up there.
yeah, IG-11. Yeah,
IG-11 is actually better than K2SO.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I said
so.
it.
I
I
think
said
so.
it. He's more entertaining. He's more like unique to watch as like a visualized character. He's not like overly funny, and he actually has a very heartfelt moment when he dies.
Yeah, I would put them neck and neck. Well, not neck and neck, but what close. I would put them close.
I would put K2SO below IG-11, not because IG-11 is funnier, but because he's so dead serious it becomes hilarious, and it plays off the contrast of the Mandalorian, who is a human and has human emotions. IG-11 is just, I'm gonna fuck you up on sight. It's on sight.
No, IG-11's from the streets. Like, let's
He's been in the hood.
Yeah, K2SO's from like Detroit, and IG-11's from Compton or something.
right. IG-11's wearing a straight out of Compton hoodie. You know, he's blasting NWA full.
IG-11, no, K2SO is the local GameStop worker who got fed up with his job. IG-11 is the gangster.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not forget,
See,
K2SO chokeslammed somebody instantly.
that's true. That's true.
K2SO is that big kid in school.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
K2SO is that big kid in school that like just doesn't take anything from anybody. IG-11 is just a straight up gangster, alright?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
experienced student.
Yeah.
IG-11 is peanut.
Yeah.
I think IG-11, the fact that it's the first, again, HK-47 is really cool. We always see him in a game, or two games. IG-11 is what that is supposed to be. Just an absolute killing machine. The only thing that made IG-11...
Yeah.
The only thing that made IG-11 cooler is if he had done K2SO's How to Kill a Jedi speech word for word.
Yeah. You see,
That would have been nuts.
Yeah, like IG-11 should have been the droid that appeared in Jedi Fallen Order, but...
Could you imagine if the Separatists had an army of IG-11s?
That's what it's
I
complicated.
don't think the Republic would have stood a chance in that case. Like, well, the clones wouldn't have at least. Jedi may be a different story.
Yeah, but
Instead of Roger, it's just, I'm going to self-destruct. I cannot be captured.
exactly.
Well, see, okay, kind of going into Clone Wars territory, the whole thing where Mace Windu's like, hey, put down your weapons and, you know, you can live or whatever, they would have just been like, no words, just keep shooting. But they
Yep.
would have their mark.
They wouldn't even stop. They would have, halfway through a Windows speech, they would just like shoot him.
Yeah, he would have been like, hey, listen to me, and they'd be like, no.
The only justification I can find for why they weren't employed any earlier and why they aren't mass-produced is that they're very expensive and very dangerous to make, because that thing was as competent, if not more than the Mandalorian on like a raw shooting power level.
Oh yeah.
That thing dunked on everybody.
Yeah,
without
I mean,
fail.
that is definitely the type of droid to be like, what's the point of having a master when I'm more competent than him? you know?
Exactly. That's a
Yeah, I'm like, is the only reason why they could not have employed that any earlier? So imagine that it probably the later technology looks more like a beat-up droid that was composed later.
Mhm.
I feel like it would have, because it wouldn't look all there. It looks like it's been through some stuff.
right.
Yeah, that homie's had some troubles.
Yeah.
I mean, those types of droids always do look like they're kind of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that there's that factor going for it, so it's not. So I feel like it's got to be manufactured by somebody that like, I can only make one of these like a year. Please stop ordering them. Like it's got to be that situation in order for me to believe. Because I was like, if the Imperial stormtroopers could have employed one of those as like their shock troopers isn't just one of them.
Yeah.
With its laser precise shooting, it would have been disgustingly dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous. They killed the last manufacturer.
Execute Order 33.
No.
Anyway, back to episode 4.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I I heard from like some people that like this is like some of their one of their least favorite episodes, or it's one of the weaker ones, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if this was episode 4 or 5 for me. That was the weakest one.
Oh
But,
no,
yeah,
episode 5. We'll get to that next, yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. It's surprising. Talk about the director real quick. Bryce Dallas Howard, the redheaded girl from Jurassic World, directed this episode. I was so shocked. And like the stuff she did before this, like, is real indie, like short film stuff, and she only did like 3 or 4 that was like really low budget, short indie stuff. So I'm like, I'm surprised that Favreau and Filoni got Rice to do this, but she ended up being the right person for the job. Like, she directed this episode really well. And yeah, I'm just pretty much going to be piggyback on what you guys are saying. I like the whole aspect with the villagers, teaching them how to defend themselves against the raiders, and I like the stuff with the ATST. I thought that was really eerie, and yeah, it reminded you a lot of a horror film, because we haven't seen an ATST directed this way before, because like, yeah, it's more triumphant, and you know the heroes are gonna overcome it, but in this one it's just really eerie and stuff like that, and I thought that was cool. And as we touched on earlier, Omera, I really like Omera in this episode. She really helped to humanize Mandalorian a little bit, you know, like help give a little bit more layers to him, make him seem a little bit more vulnerable. So I like that whole aspect, and the whole motherly type the motherly type stuff that she brings to her character. I like that a lot. And yeah, I like that she's able to defend herself too. Like, when they're doing target practice, she's like blasting the target like dead on, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So my only thing is, I wish we got a little bit more development with that, because I want to know where she got trained and stuff like that. I know they wanted to keep it a mystery, but it's like, that's just something really interesting. I just want to know a little bit more of that. And I think she's going to come back in season 2. That's my prediction. I think she's going to return in season 2, because I think she's just too interesting of a character for them to just leave it off for one episode, you know? I could be wrong. She may not be in season 2, because, you know, there's already a bunch of stuff that they're setting up for season 2 already, but it's like, I feel like we're going to see her again, because, like I said, she's one of the few characters to help ground Mando, you know, and help humanize him.
We do need a love interest for Mando.
Yeah, I think she would be a really good love interest for Mando. You know,
Yeah,
I instantly felt chemistry with them. So, that's how I felt about it. Go ahead, Ruby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, I just, I too enjoyed the fact that, we got to see, the villagers being trained to defend themselves. Even though I do feel like that is a bit of a cliche, because I know that we've seen stuff like that before, but like working on that in the realm of like this type of genre of Star Wars, I guess it really does work. And yeah, the horror aspects of the ATST coming into you know, attempting to blow everything up with its demon-like red eyes, because I don't think ATSTs really showed off like demon red eyes in any other film.
No.
I know for a fact that they didn't show that in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, no.
So, like, by the time I saw the eyes, I was like, wait, what the fuck is that? And then I figured it was an ATST. I was like, wait, they can light up?
Yeah. They didn't even show that in Rogue One either.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more intimidating.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Because we never see them at night, do we? In the other films.
Yeah, they definitely seemed a lot more intimidating here. But yeah, I think it's just because, like, this ATST is going up against a group of people that never really fight. Whereas, like, all the other ATSTs we see go up against, like, super high-tech advanced, like, war veterans and, like, actual soldiers that, like, have, like, ideas to take out these things. So it's like, they never really seemed as much of a threat in the movies, but, like, here, you don't really know how to deal with it. Except for, like, only, like, 1 or 2 people that know how to. Mm-hmm. Out of, like, how many other people were there? Like, 100 or so?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's definitely a nice bit of fear factor in there. And yeah, that freaking love it. I just forgot her name. I just looked it up.
Omera.
Omera, yeah. Uh, she seemed great as a good fit for Mando, and I was a little disappointed to see that she didn't go with him at the end of the episode, which I thought would have been kind of cool, but then at the same time it would have been like, well, she's kind of leaving her kids and her people behind, so it's like, I guess it's fine that she's staying, but like, it'd be nice to see her again in the future.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a distant finale, like, if all goes well, because we know that the Mandalorian cannot be around by the time of, like, The Force Awakens. So, I feel like this film is going to set up, or this series is going to set that either he'll be laid to rest in battle, or he's going to escape and settle into that village, and he'll come back to her, because definitely there's that really powerful rustic temptation going on where she's like, it's a better life than out there.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll go into more detail about, like, if you take off your helmet in front of another person, you're no longer a Mandalorian, and so that'll probably be the end of the Mandalorians.
I mean, I feel like he'll probably just go off somewhere because, you know, it's a huge time gap between episode 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question though. So, now, if my father's listening, I apologize. I crude language here. So the Mandalorians, we know there's foundlings where they just take the kids. So if they took their armor off from other people, how do they fuck? Did we just not get more Mandalorians?
Well, it seems like they
No,
can be like
Camino.
inducted into that.
Camino. Oh, Ruby!
They just go to Camino.
Oh, God!
Yep. The X-Wing's up.
Great. Attack of the
I mean,
Mandalorians.
Yeah,
Based on the Mandalorians.
based on his backstory, it seems like people can just be inducted into, you know.
But there's like a part where it seems like they say there's some foundlings, but there's others that are just I guess those are the ones that are from Camino that are like, but aren't those foundlings too? I'm sort of confused. The lore is there a Mandalore tribe that does the kind of like wolf adoption thing where they take in others and then that's how they expand as a tradition, or is there like a biological group that was the core that also does the foundling thing, where it's like we just take, it's like how the Brotherhood of Steel and Fallout operates, I want for a comparison.
Oh. Well, like I said, it's like there's an inconsistency between this and, you know, in the Clone Wars when Mandalore was, you know, because Mandalore, they were, you know, more open to having their helmets off and stuff like that, and they had actual civilization and stuff like that, so maybe stuff changed, or, you know, it's a different tribe of Mandalorians. I don't know, really.
Yeah, again, I'll just accept the answer for myself. So I'll put myself to sleep tonight when I'm thinking about the series.
Yeah.
There's just a decaying tribe that is like, don't take your helmet off ever. We pick up new people, and the other main tribe that's like, yeah, take your helmet off around your fellows.
Yep, you could just put that in the portfolio of unanswered questions, along with why can't Jedi fuck? like why can't Jedi fall in love? So,
well, I guess I can answer that one from a cultural perspective. I can't answer it in lore, but I can answer it from, like, monks aren't supposed to fuck, which is what Jedi are based on. Granted, there are Zen monastics that do that, but, like, if you're a monk, you're not supposed to be doing that, because it's supposed to be trying to get out of... You're supposed to stay detached from this world, which is what Jedi encourage with the whole, like, stop feeding into the emotions.
Well, the
So
Force
that's
is
why
about
we don't do
emotions,
that.
though. That's the problem. I don't know.
Huh?
There's always that gray area because the Force acts on an emotion sometimes. So it's like there's
Well,
always
that's why
that.
the Sith exists, is that the Sith are like, no, dude, that's why the Sith is about being passionate. They know that passion is a tool for destruction.
Yeah.
And the Jedi know that discompassion is a tool for construction, where they're like, we can protect people and preserve people by not being attached. It really is based on Zen principle.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, George Lucas really is a weeb in disguise. That's my theory. So he just really likes Japan a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Low key.
Yeah.
He just watched Kurosawa and was a retro weeb before anime was the thing.
Right. Oh, you know what? The person we forgot to talk about more is Kara. Kara.
Oh.
Yeah, she was great. I love her. I love Cara Dune. I was apprehensive because I mean, I am a fan of Gina Carano. I've watched her fights in the past, and I've seen her in other movies. Before this, I thought she was kind of green when it comes to her acting. She's still working on her performance, but in this one, I actually thought she gave a really good performance. Like, she came a long way from the first stuff in acting. I think she was in Deadpool also, and she didn't really do too much. She had that fight with Colossus, which was entertaining, I guess, but yeah, didn't have to say too much. But she's not just there to be the muscle. Like, she's actually a character that actually has exchanges with Mando and the other big characters like that, and she plays an important role in the series. So I was really happy about that, and I didn't feel the we got to bring this up. I didn't feel the agenda of female empowerment with this character. She felt natural to the story, so I thought she was really good. What do you guys think about Kara?
Sorry about that, folks.
That's okay.
No, yeah, I liked her character. She, pretty much everything that she said. I liked her character, and yeah, she didn't really give off those vibes, like the same kind of vibes that you get from, like, I guess Captain Marvel, I'd probably say from, like, Endgame.
Ray.
Or Ray.
Yeah.
Or Ahsoka Tano. We'll get to that in season 7.
Sounds like Ahsoka, but... Okay, season 7, yeah, okay.
I have some thoughts about season 7. We will get to that in the near future, but...
Sorry, I had to dip out because Discord put me into the cone of silence. Are we talking about Cara Dune as a female character? Like, how she holds up with the other ones in the series?
Well, just overall how she is as a character in general. Not just that, but...
Okay. Okay. So, I think Cara Dune is kind of cool. I like that they established that she can kick ass, but Mando did have her beat. I was like, makes sense. Mando hasn't been stopped yet, but she pretty much did body him for a little bit, sheer wrestling prowess. But again, it was a cool fight initially, and then I like that she was someone that could back up the Mandalorian in the village scenes. I think that was nice to have him have a partner for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I only just appreciated the fact that we didn't jump straight into the I need to love you stage yet.
Oh, they could have easily done that. They could have easily have done that, but I'm glad they didn't.
Well,
They did that with almost every other couple in Star Wars, but they didn't do that with Mando and Cara, and I'm happy about that.
Yes, agree. Fully agree with that.
Personally, because I don't really think that they're the perfect fit. I think it's more of Mando and O'Mara, but that's just me.
No, I agree.
Same. Agree. O'Mara is meant to be the wife, or Cara is meant to be the partner. It's just the
I was gonna say, like Cara is like the fighting part of Padme, but like O'Mara is like the wife part of Padme.
Yeah.
Like you see two different women playing both sides of Padme.
Mm-hmm.
In a good
but
way.
also well acted.
Yes. No weird dialogue.
I was gonna say, it was the dialogue. It wasn't the acting. The acting was fine.
Yeah, the acting was fine.
Yeah,
It was the
right,
dialogue.
You're right.
It was the dialogue. Blame George.
So love is blinded to you? Like, what? What are you talking about?
Move on, please.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, so I guess we can move on now. Alright, yeah, let's get to episode 5, which is